Can the Houston Texans knock off the LA Chargers on Saturday?
This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. And as always, we appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This is the second installment of our shows today. If you're joining us for the first time, we welcome you. But if you're back for the second time, thanks again, because we have three more games to go over. In our first video, we looked at the other NFL game from Saturday, Ravens-Packers, also the Minnesota-New Mexico Rate Bowl out in Phoenix this afternoon, and Bucks Grizzlies in the NBA tonight. So you want to check out those picks, you can go to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, and find those selections. But here on this video, we have three football selections, couple bowls for Saturday, and the NFL game on Saturday afternoon between the Texans and the Chargers, where we begin with our wrong team favorite.
What the fuck? WTF.
Bit of a revenge spot for the Chargers. They got walloped by the Texans in the playoffs. But Houston, 0-3 out of the gate, look kind of dead in the water. They've come all the way back and right behind Jacksonville for second place in the AFC South. Chargers, we'll talk about in a second, but they have an opportunity to maybe be the number one or actually win the division when it's all said and done in the AFC West and jump the Broncos. But Lee, what do you like here with the Texans and Chargers at SoFi on Saturday?
So I think this Houston defense is even much better than last year when they, like I said, walloped the LA Chargers in the playoffs. Why do I say that? All three levels. They got guys that can rush the passer, linebackers that make tackles in space, and they got DBs that come up and hit and also intercept passes. They're number one. That's right, number one in scoring defense, allowing just 16.6 points per game. And I think the Chargers have been doing it on offense this year with smoke and mirrors. Their offensive line, talking about two Pro Bowl players, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, out for the year. Then they lost Trey Pipkins. He ended up getting hurt, and this kid Saylor, Jamarcy Saylor, ended up coming in the game last week. Saylor's now out for the game, and Pipkins listed as questionable. So, like I said, smoke and mirrors. They're getting by somehow, but they're doing it against lower level teams. Now, also a lot of people, what they do is they bet what they saw last week. And the Houston offense didn't look good. Only 270 total yards with 16 first downs versus bottom feeder, absolutely horrible, the Las Vegas Raiders. But like I said, it's 1 week. Things change. I still think this is a good offense. I love the receivers here for Houston, and they've got a lot of depth. Also like their special teams and their return men here. I think the wrong team is favored. I think the Houston Texans do it again, just like they did last year to the Chargers. Wrong team favored. Houston Texans over the Chargers on Saturday afternoon.
And also the Chargers off that win over the Chiefs last week when Patrick Mahomes, or when you look back at it, 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs when Patrick Mahomes was still healthy in that game, and then they beat Dallas last week. They just cruised past Dallas, and now they're returning home. Like we said, it's a revenge spot, which is never guaranteed. I think people like to play the revenge angle a lot, and you'd think they just come right in and play well, but Houston shut them down for a reason last year. So we'll see what they do here, and the Texans playing very well since that 0-3 start. And like we talked about, Lee, so the Broncos win on Thursday. The Chargers still with the shot to win the AFC West because they play the Broncos next week, and the Chargers beat Denver the first time back in week 3. So LA, this is a big game for them. They win their final two. They could end up being the top team out of the AFC West. So the Broncos, after everything that happened, could finish in second place. And also Jacksonville, they already beat the Chargers and the Broncos, so they could be the number 2 seed when it's all said and done.
Yeah, they could. And, it's like you would think it's a little bit bigger here for the Chargers, but if you play, in the NFL, a game just based on the game might being a little bit bigger, and the Chargers might be able, if they win this game and beat Denver, winning the division and probably ending up the 3rd seed. I think that you're playing for the wrong reason. It's more about matchups. And even though Houston's kind of locked in as a wild card here, I don't think they care. I think they go out and they play hard every single week here. And I just think bottom line is they're a better team top to bottom and play with a little bit more of an edge than the Chargers. And whenever you think the Chargers are about, to break through, what do? They break your hearts.
Yeah, and look, Justin Herbert, for as good as he's been, no playoff wins. So we'll see if he could finally get past that. 8 games coming up in the bowls on Saturday. We have a couple of them we're going to look at. The first one, Lee, the Pinstripe Bowl in New York City in the Bronx. I would say the Yankees and the Red Sox. It's the Penn State and Clemson. So let's look at our first hidden gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
2 teams that were slated to be in the college football playoff when the season started, but then the season started and then things went south. Penn State, they end up losing to UCLA and Northwestern, and James Franklin got fired. It was a complete mess. Drew Aller got hurt in that Northwestern loss, but they finished the season on a high note and made it to a bowl. Clemson, remember they lost to LSU out of the gate, almost lost to Troy in week 2, then lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse in ACC play. So they were 1-3 out of the gate for Dabo, but they finished on a high note. They beat South Carolina in their rivalry game at the end. I'm going to take the points with Penn State here in the Pinstripe Bowl on Saturday. They're getting 3 against Clemson. Now, a couple things here. Number one, we know Matt Campbell's coming as the head coach of Iowa State. He's not coaching this game, obviously, but that what's coming up, around the corner, Penn State hopes to get on track. And also with Terry Smith, who was the interim coach, they really played hard for him down the stretch. They played well, and they should have beat Indiana. Like, they had a chance to beat Indiana. Indiana went down the field, and Fernando Mendoza had that touchdown pass at the end in that game. They hung with Iowa. I know they got blown up by Ohio State, but that's okay. I'm not going to hold it against them. And they beat some teams down the stretch. Maybe not great, but they're still wins, still confidence builders. And I think for Clemson, Lee, that's like their Super Bowl being South Carolina. Like, that was a big win for them at the end of the season. I don't want to say they're not motivated for this game. I just think Penn State is more motivated for this game against Clemson. Also, Cade Klubnik didn't have a great year after last year, threw 36 touchdown passes at 16 this year. Was a little banged up. I'm going with Penn State here. I think they finish off on a high note with Terry Smith before they shift over to Matt Campbell next year. Let's take the points of Penn State against Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium coming up on Saturday afternoon as our college football hidden gem.
Yeah, not hidden gem to me because I like Penn State's line play better. A couple key defensive linemen going to go first or second round for Clemson, opting out of this game. So I think you win games up front. Skilled players, they're kind of like the window dressing. They look great, but they got to have holes to run through. They got to have someone to block for them. And I just think Penn State's better on the offensive and defensive line this game. So I like Penn State also.
Quick thought on this before we get to the second game in a little bit, that all these teams that are playing that are not in the college football playoff, and again, not the group of 5 teams, and now these Power 4 conference teams that are in these games, how do you, after all these years, and I understand the opt-outs are hard, but how do you judge motivation with these teams to say, okay, who wants to end on that high note? If maybe there's a coaching change, if, in Clemson's case, where Dabo's not going anywhere, where it's the same guy, like, how do you judge all of that? Connecticut and Army is a big one, too, at Fenway Park, where Connecticut's trying for their 10th win and Army just played Navy. How do you judge motivation going with these Power 4 teams?
Well, coaches leaving programs used to be almost automatic. You went against them. There'd be turmoil, but, these coaches have figured out how to navigate that. And there's situations, especially like in Penn State. You like Penn State. They like the interim coach, and they're playing hard for him, and they already know who the next coach is. And, they want to put something good on tape, whether they're going to the NFL or they're going to stay around and play for the next coach. So they want to leave a really good impression. So some things have changed, and that's definitely one of them. Just because, there's an interim coach doesn't mean you play against them anymore.
Yeah. And again, it has changed for, I hate to say it, the worst, because there's more uncertainty with these players opting out and you don't know who really cares. But also, like you said, you want to show what you have for who's ever next, wherever you go. If you're going to the transfer portal or if you're going to the NFL or whatever. So we'll see if these guys see how they fare coming up in these games. Coming up, we are going to look at the Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando, BYU and Georgia Tech for Saturday. That is straight ahead. You are listening to Locked On Bets. Let's tell you about FanDuel and the NFL. We're in week 17 in the midst of it. You had 3 underdogs come through on Thursday, and now we'll see what happens coming up this weekend. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting at FanDuel is seriously one of the coolest things that's come out with betting. And we know it's not new, but at the same time, you don't have to feel like you are rushed to make a bet before a game. If you're not really sure, you're studying, you're looking at it, I don't know what I want to do. Maybe you wait until the game kicks off. Wait until the first quarter plays 10 minutes. Wait until the first quarter ends and then jump in at some point in the game. That's what you can do with the live betting, and that's what makes it so great at FanDuel, that you have these opportunities. You have the whole game where the window is open to make a bet as opposed to trying to get in before the game. And if you get in before the game and you don't like where your position is, maybe you can go to the other side and live bet in the middle of the game, and maybe you get that money back for something that you didn't like or that you took before the game that didn't work out for you. Maybe you could bounce back later in the game with live betting. You have so many choices, sides, money lines, totals, also player props with it. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. We continue here, Locked On Bets on a Friday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling at Paramount Sports as our second edition today. And all football here. The Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando coming up on Saturday. BYU taking on Georgia Tech. Could have been Notre Dame in this game, but they declined because we don't know why they declined. Well, we know why they declined, but we don't want to bash them necessarily. We know why they declined. So let's talk about it now. Lee, it's our lock of the day.
Open it, open it, open it. Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
A terrible look. That's just what it is. Just took your ball and went home. That's just what it is for Notre Dame. That all you got to do is just try to play in the game. And anyway. All right, let's look at the game now. BYU and Georgia Tech, the Cougars, who lost the Big 12 championship to Texas Tech. Georgia Tech, who was in the midst of being in the ACC championship the whole season, and things kind of fell apart. But, Lee, what do you like here with the Yellow Jackets and the Cougars?
Well, first and most importantly, I actually know who the sponsor is, the Pop-Tart Bowl. And I love Pop-Tarts. I've been eating them since I've been a kid. Don't have them too often now, maybe once or twice a year. But I like them. And I think if you Google it, it says there's 20 to 30 flavors. I think there's close to 40 or more. So they were at the ACC preseason, convention that they had, and they had at least 40. I can tell you that. It was crazy. Tried out a couple I'd never tried out before, and I like it. So a lot better than the Mayo Bowl. Don't want to eat mayonnaise. Don't want to have it dumped on top of me if I'm a coach. If you're handed some Pop-Tarts, it's not too bad. You got nothing else to eat. Now, getting to the game, I think Georgia Tech's defense is smoke and mirrors. Just don't think they're any good. You can look at all their players and pretty sure at most maybe you see one of them make it to the NFL. New offensive coordinator for the game, Chris Weinke from your Florida State Seminoles there of fame. And he's going to be calling the plays. Why? Because the offensive coordinator moved on to Florida. So maybe some inconsistencies there. He'll probably throw the ball more, but that could be a problem here. This BYU defense has been rock solid all season. Only Texas Tech scored more than 27 points on this defense all season long. So the one consistent thing we know about BYU is they played defense here. Just Texas Tech beat them twice. They were just better, more talented, and had more weapons in them. So, like I said, I think Georgia Tech here, it's a little bit closer, but I think BYU is going to smoke them here. Just sound in every single position. They beat everyone else, and I like BYU. Lay the 3.5 here. It's going to be a level 2 lock.
All right, BYU and Georgia Tech, one of the 8 games coming up on Saturday in the Bowls. So, Lee, Paramount Sports, a lot going on here with the very busy part of the college football bowl season as well as Week 17 of the NFL.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a 40 to 50 unit max wager, which we haven't had one in over a month in college or the NFL. both college and the NFL starting this weekend. So you want to hop on board. Double Down December, normally $297. Put in coupon code SAVE100. Get every single game through New Year's Eve. So we're locked and ready to go for a big weekend. 11 bowl games going on today and Saturday. Full slate of the NFL. So you want to have some fun and hopefully win some money. 21-10 in the bowls last year. Just one place, ParamountSports.com.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets. You could find our first installment of the Friday show on that channel. Also, Lee's going to have a short for the Bills and the Eagles for Sunday. You can find that on our YouTube channel as well, and also our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. For Lee Sterling, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning into today's edition of Locked On Bets. We'll talk to you again on Monday right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.